Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome back to the First Chapter Explorers Club. This is take 2 because I realized you could hear the washing machine the first time I did the intro. So I closed some doors, and hopefully that won't be noticeable when it comes back on. I'm washing a very big blanket, and I think I'm testing the limits of my washing machine's capacity, but that's okay. So, welcome back to the First Chapter Explorers Club. Today, let's see what we are going to be reading today. Alright, today we've got a contemporary romance. This is Puppy Love by Elle Sprinkle. It comes out June 14th, and there will be a pre-order link in the description below. Cameron Miller hates first impressions. They make her sweaty, tongue-tied, or worse, silent. Her anxiety doesn't help, leaving her expecting disaster around every corner. And finding out that her almost one-night stand as her new boss only confirms her fears. Violet Wolf isn't looking for love. In fact, due to her impending divorce, she plans to stay far, far away from it. Luckily, love and a close encounter in a bar bathroom don't bear many similarities. But when the woman from last night turns up as her work's newbie, Violet realizes she's accidentally violated her boss's #1 rule: no dating colleagues. The chemistry between them is undeniable, sure, but it's just a physical attraction, or so they tell themselves. Yet, as they start to consider breaking workplace policy, as well as the boundaries they've set for themselves, they start to wonder if it really is just puppy love, or if something larger is pulling them together. Sweet! Alright, so as I mentioned, that pre-order link is in the description, as well as the Goodreads link. You can add it to your TBR. And let's dive into this first chapter. I'm just gonna have a little more coffee here. I got a iced coffee this morning, and then after adding milk and hot chocolate powder to it, I've ended up with a lot of drink, and I'm kind of worried about how much caffeine and sugar I'm taking in, but you know what? That's just the energy I need to read some chapters today, and hopefully get some episodes recorded. So, let's dive right in. And of course, one last thing before we get started. As far as content warnings go, we have: this book contains parental neglect, parental death, substance abuse, and anxiety attacks. First chapter should be pretty tame, though, based on what the author submitted here. I am also just going to mention that the first chapter opens with some vomiting from a hangover, just in case anyone has issues with that, and that there is some swearing, just on the off chance anyone is listening to this out loud somewhere where that could get them in trouble. Alright, let's get into it. 1. Black coffee. Cam. Commode, loo, toilet, whichever term suits your vocabulary. My head is 2 inches past the rim as coconut-infused bile rises up my throat. Malibu. A gentle hand rubs circles across my shoulder blades, while another holds my tangled, dirty blonde hair above my head, away from the acidic geyser that is currently possessing my body. I don't want to say I told you so, but blah. I told you so, Adrian finishes, still rubbing my back as they hand me a cup of water. I wrap my fingers around the blue plastic cup, tilting my head back to let the smooth, cool water glide down my throat. Disguised as instant relief, the anticipation in my nauseated body eases. But the water quickly returns, like a letter sent to an address that doesn't exist, and once again, I find myself up close and personal with the porcelain throne. A loud knock erupts from the bathroom door, ricocheting off the insides of my hungover skull, and an angry voice booms through the wooden barricade. "Can you hurry up already? I have to take a shit," the voice yells. "Sorry, out of order," Adrian sings back, their tone much kinder than that of the voice outside the bathroom. The hinges of the door slowly chip with each heavy knock against the wood, and my brain practically rattles. I think I'm going to throw up again. "Can you open the door?" I take another sip of water, this time locking my throat closed as I gargle the liquid, allowing it to soothe my burning tonsils. I don't think there has ever been a relief as sweet as this. Adrian lets out a subtle sigh, and I lift my head to watch as their dark, dainty hands twist the sliver of gold in the center of the doorknob. Click. The door opens. Adrian's roommate Avery standing bitterly in the frame. Short brown locks sit messily in every direction possible, thick brows furrowing over his squinted, hooded eyes. I really gotta... bleh. The last of the contents of my stomach now forever swims in the pool of Adrian and Avery's latrine. I slide my bare forearm across my face, wiping the sour residue off my mouth. Another exhale slips out of Adrian's lips, and they hang their head. Okay, let's get you some Gatorade, they say defeatedly. If anyone should feel defeated, it should be the person who just threw up $23 worth of Zabinski's takeout. Adrian's hand extends out to me, and I weakly place my palm against theirs. Dude, you're Avery starts to speak, but I hear a slight waver in his voice, and he swallows instead. How are you still... He wants to make some snarky remark about me heaving like a mama bird, but it seems that he's having trouble getting his words out without an astringent taste rising up in his own throat. I look at him with a perplexed expression, then turn to face Adrian for answers. I've never seen anything quite like this before. Avery is emetophobic, Adrian explains, their shiny jet-black coils bouncing. He's terrified of vomit. The corners of my lips tug at the sides of my face, forming a cocky smirk that I have no remorse for. Avery Clark is many things, but above all, he is annoying. So, the thought of him being so sensitive to something like puke amuses me in some way. Avery is less amused, though. His brows dig further into his eyes, a red tone rising to his squared cheeks. Fuck off, he sneers, turning into his bedroom and furiously slamming the door closed behind him. I lock eyes with Adrian, and after a brief moment of silence, we erupt into uncontrollable gasping for air laughter. My ribs start to ache, and my vision goes blurry as tears create a thick, glossy coat over my eyes. Adrian's arms flex, tightly gripping my pale, shaky hands in theirs as they pull me to my feet. Remind me to never drink Malibu again, I say, following them to the living room. Empty bottles litter the counters and coffee table, and the entire apartment reeks of booze. The smell is so nauseating that I'm grateful there's nothing left inside of me to projectile vomit. I reach down, moving a pair of unconscious legs to the side, so I can sit down on the tawny-pilled sectional. That's not a real word, Hayden, I say, grabbing the blanket trapped underneath him and pulling it over myself. Hayden huffs, rolling over, but not enough to make the blanket pulling any easier. Bright, he finally manages to croak. His arm drapes over his eyes dramatically to shield him from the sun rays peeking through the blinds. At least I know I'm not the only one who got a little too drunk last night. Adrian, Hayden, Avery, and I held a cocktail party. Party, meaning us and the dogs. Pumpkin, Avery's prehistoric chihuahua, sat most of it out, and Eloise, Hayden's retired service dog, spent most of the night passed out under the table. Dawson and Major, however, partied just as hard as we did, if not harder. Cam, I love you, he mutters, still not opening his eyes, but I'm never celebrating anything with you ever again. Look, I'm not usually the party type. On my birthdays, I like to binge-watch true crime and spend an absurd amount of money on books that will probably take me years to read. But last night marked the end of something huge, bigger than a birthday, better even. Yesterday was my last day working at the dog shop. The dog shop is any dog groomer's biggest nightmare. It's worse than chipped blades and matted coats, angry parents and labor violations. It's worse because it's all of those things combined. I mean, if the gays have a place in hell, so does corporate America. You know, given that it fucks pretty much everyone. Well, everyone except the founders of corporations like the dog shop. Honestly, I'm surprised they don't have more lawsuits on their hands. Maybe because years of overbooked schedules, micromanaging supervisors, and neglected animals makes you too tired to do anything about it. But those days are finally over. You could throw up, I suggest. It made me feel better. Kinda. Hayden's hand moves to his stomach, his fingers clutching the fabric of his shirt. Please, please don't talk about throwing up right now. Major, a white standard poodle puppy, nudges Hayden's hand with his nose, and I watch a soft smile slowly form on his face as he complies with his dog's needy demands. Hayden is just about the most charming man in existence, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Well, minus the congenital heart defect. His blonde hair is lighter than mine, thicker too, yet somehow always perfectly styled. Even now, after a drunken night, passed out on the couch, his hair is perfectly messy, like it's supposed to look that way. Mine is frizzy and tangled, like the mane of a lion who desperately needs a deep conditioning treatment. His eyes are blue, but not like the ocean. They're softer, gentler somehow, with just the slightest tint of purple in the right lighting. And that smile. Hayden has the type of smile that can get you to do just about anything. It's bright and sweet and effortless, but not perfect in a way that seems fake. Hayden Ayers is the type of person you should be in complete, uncontrollable love with. But for some inexplicable universal revenge, it would feel like incest if anything were to happen between us. I can't say I hate it, though. He makes a pretty good fake brother. So, are you excited for your first day? He asks, slowly pulling himself upright. I sink further under the blanket, trying not to make any sudden movements that could trigger my stomach acid's abrupt evacuation. Yeah, I say casually, trying to act as if my entire insides aren't vibrating with both excitement and anxiety. I'm pretty stoked. If I'm being completely honest, I thought I was going to work at the dog shop until it was time to crawl into my grave. Not because I had to, my contract ended 2.5 years ago, and not even really because I wanted to, because who would want to work somewhere so hostile? No, I was going to work at the dog shop for the rest of my life because the thought of starting over somewhere new was terrifying enough to make me stay. Keyword was. Thanks to my psychologist, Dr. Burton, and Adrian's pleas to Avery as their supervisor, I am now an official independent contractor at Furry Friends Pet Resort, starting Monday. Furry Friends isn't really a grooming salon. According to Avery and Adrian, it's more of a 5-star hotel, but for dogs. But customers had been requesting they had grooming services for years, and last month the owner finally agreed. That's what Avery says, at least. I would be lying if I said I wasn't shocked that he picked me. Even though Pumpkin is one of my most loyal clients, Avery and I aren't exactly one another's favorite person. So, when Adrian told me that he hadn't even posted a job search, my jaw practically shattered when it hit the floor. Avery told me that he picked me because he doesn't trust anyone else with his own dog, and not to read too much into it. I read too much into everything, but this was a riddle I couldn't quite solve. A 45-pound black ball of energy thrust itself on top of me, sending my stomach swirling, goosebumps rising on my skin as the nausea builds. I clutch my churning gut, curling into a big ball. "Dawson! Off!" I command. Completely oblivious to the immense discomfort he just caused me, Dawson obeys, sinking into a wiggly sitting position. A long strip of hair from the top of his neck down the center of his back leads to his forever swaying tail, forming a coarse mohawk. Peppered white paws and a patch of wispy white hair on his chest contrast against the remainder of his dark coat. He looks up at me lovingly. Freaking border collie, as I mutter, as if he isn't the love of my life. Dawson isn't a border collie, at least not entirely. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what he is. His body screams collie, but his wiry coat is that of a Brillo pad. My hand cups the underside of his chin, and I scratch him gently. From the kitchen, Adrian tosses 2 cold red bottles of fruit punch-flavored Gatorade at Hayden and me. "So, I was thinking," they say cheerily, like they hadn't downed 4 Monacos the night before. Adrian has this superpower that makes him physically incapable of being hungover. At least, I've never seen it. "Do you want to carpool on Monday?" Everyone is scared of something. I was scared of starting a new job, Avery is scared of vomit, and Adrian is terrified of driving. I've come to the conclusion that this fear was a major contributing factor to them moving in with Avery. The two mostly work the same shifts, so they can carpool. I mean, that has to be a factor, given that Avery is bothersome most days, though I think I'm the only one who notices. Not that I'm always pleasant company myself. Adrian always says that I'm not a glass half full or a glass half empty person, but more of a drinkable water is a finite resource type. But my relentless anxiety attacks about global warming and life changes and that thing I really didn't mean to throw away that one time aren't really in my control. Avery's blunt comments and egotistical stance? Yeah, that's all on him. I narrow my eyes at them suspiciously. Are you just asking me because Avery opens and you don't? Adrian's expression shifts, and they cross their arms over their body. Snitch. A loud chuckle erupts from the bathroom, and Adrian flips Avery off through the wall. They turn back to me with pleading puppy dog eyes, and I swear they are the human embodiment of sunshine. Their bouncy black curls, their smooth dark skin, the adorable gap between their 2 front teeth. Adrian Barlow might be one of the sweetest people ever born. When they aren't angry, of course. Then they're more like lava. I roll my eyes. "Are you going to complain about Luigi?" I ask in a sigh. Adrian gives me a coy smile. "Is he going to break down again?" They bat their eyelashes. Luigi is my golden 1999 Lexus LS 400. The car boasts fabulous leather seats and a mechanical moonroof, complete with a polished wooden interior. That being said, Luigi is a real piece of shit. He gets about 12 miles to the gallon on a good day, is always leaking something from somewhere, and has a gift engraved on the outside of the driver's door that reads "Cunt," left by my charming ex-boyfriend Cody. Still, I love him. Luigi, that is. Cody can get hit by a train. Probably, I shrug. Adrian frowns. He's on a pretty good streak right now. It's been, I count silently on my fingers, 3 weeks with no trouble? Hayden clears his throat from the couch. "Cam, don't you think it's about time to let him go?" he asks, running his fingers through the thick white fluff posted on top of Major's head. "I told you that my parents and I are more than willing to—" I shoot Hayden a glare that I hope he can physically feel. "I'm not getting rid of him," I say flatly. Ever. I don't care that Luigi's repairs cost more than his worth. I don't care that he stops working on a regular basis. To me, he's invaluable. The creaky moonroof and the worn leather of the seats bring back memories that I'm scared to forget. The wind funneling through the sunroof on hot summer days. The CD station that was once new and high-tech but is now retro and rarely touched. My dad getting on me for allowing Cooper, my childhood dog, to sit on the seat next to me. "Cameron Felicity Miller, he's going to rip a hole in the leather," he'd always say, but I could still see him smiling through the rearview mirror. Those memories I'm scared I'll forget, but his voice could never slip my mind. Hayden puts his hands up defensively, and Adrian sucks in a breath through their teeth. Okay, he says. The offer is always there. On second thought, Adrian says, smiling awkwardly, Luigi is perfect. I love him, actually. No complaints here. The pitch of Adrian's voice reaches a frequency that is a little too high for someone who is hungover and non-caffeinated as I am. As if he's reading my mind, Hayden peels himself off the couch, moseying his way to the door. "I'm making a coffee run," he squeaks, shoving his feet into a pair of Avery slippers that are much too large for him. "Who's coming?" Evergreen Grounds is the world's best drive-through coffee kiosk, or Green Rock Valley, Washington's, at least. You wouldn't expect the most delicious coffee to come from a green shed on the side of the road, but it's our go-to stop no matter what our destination is. I think our group could single-handedly support the business, which might say more about us than them. "One dirty chai, one hot caramel macchiato, one iced pistachio latte, and one black coffee, right?" the barista asks, her dark lashes almost long enough to touch her bangs. "And two," I look behind me to make sure I'm counting correctly, "3 pop cups, please." Pumpkin stayed home. The barista nods, scribbling onto a blue notepad. "Anything else?" "We love you, Aurora," Adrian says, blowing a kiss through the black window. Aurora laughs brightly, blowing a kiss back before sliding the drive-through window closed. Adrian doesn't really know Aurora all that well. None of us do. We see her frequently, sure, but it's not like you're going to make best friends with your drive-through barista. Unless you're Adrian, of course. That's exactly the kind of person they are. They love everyone until they have a reason not to. I wonder how they do it, and sometimes I'm even jealous. But I know that realistically it's more of a curse than a blessing. On the way home, after the dogs have licked their cups of whipped cream clean, and everyone but me has passed their drinks around to taste test them, Adrian starts to talk about their business rise. The business doesn't exist yet, and to be honest, sometimes I struggle to understand what it even is. If someone held a gun to my head and asked me to describe it, bury me somewhere warm. I guess if I had to try, I'd say that it's like if a bookstore, cafe, and art gallery had a three-way, and then a bar, yoga studio, and meditation retreat joined in. In retrospect, the vision is there. It's just a matter of learning how to explain it to somebody else. And on the walls, I'll line up all my paintings. Well, not just my paintings, but other local artists too. And on Saturdays, we'll drink mimosas and do yoga. "Can you do those things at the same time?" Avery asks, cradling Dawson on his lap. Adrian shoots him a glare, and Hayden adjusts his rearview mirror like a disappointed father. "Be nice," he says like a warning, really getting into the role. "It's going to be awesome, Ree," I say, sipping my coffee. The bitter flavor hits my taste buds, melting into my mouth before I swallow. I don't particularly like black coffee, I'm not going to lie. I don't hate it either, it's just a bit plain. But I haven't tried it any other way before. It's overwhelming, staring at the menu, knowing that out of hundreds of combinations, you could pick one you simply don't like. Or worse, one that causes you to have a gurgling, upset stomach. I know what black coffee tastes like. I know how it affects me. So I order it every time. That way, I know what I'm getting. That way, nothing changes. Alright, that was chapter 1 of Puppy Love. We got to meet Cameron, one of the 2 leads, it sounds like. I'm excited to hear more of this. I don't usually read a lot of contemporary romance, but I really like this friend group. Also, the barista has the same name as me, so you've got points with me, author. But yeah, Puppy Love by Elle Sprinkle comes out June 14th. Yes, check out those pre-order and Goodreads links in the description below. Thank you for tuning into the First Chapter Explorers Club. If you are an indie author or post your writing online, you can use that submission form in the description for a chance to have your first chapter read on the podcast. And I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. Let me know what you're reading right now, what you're watching, what you're enjoying in the comments, and I will see you all next week.